All right, what's up? Welcome to the MPACT podcast. I'm your host, Coach A. Hope everybody is having a wonderful Thursday. Welcome to our Thursday night live. I have some awesome guests with me tonight. Tonight we're talking about juvenile justice. We know that youth incarceration is a problem here in the United States, and so I have a friend and he's found a way to tackle that problem. Yep. He goes into the detention centers on a regular basis and try to help motivate the kids to do what's right. So hopefully you guys is having an awesome Thursday. I'm gonna take a minute to since we just started going live, I'm gonna take a minute to share the post before we get into this show. So make sure if you drop by to leave a comment. You can always leave a comment or ask some questions if you have questions. Give me just a second. I want to share that, and then we're gonna get into the show. Those of you who know me closely know that I worked in detention for a while. For about, I have 7 years experience working in detention. So I worked in detention in Georgia for about 3 years, 3 to 4 years. And then when I moved to Florida, I worked in detention also here in Florida. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So moving here in Florida, we know that there's been some research found that juvenile incarceration alone does not reduce the recidivism rate. Now, those of you who don't know that big word recidivism, that has to do with offenders, the tendency for offenders to reoffend, right? For youth who get in trouble and get locked up, their tendency to get locked up again. They call that recidivism. And so everything is measured by that, making sure that the youth don't make mistakes again. And so, in fact, in most cases, youth incarceration increases the likelihood of juveniles reoffending. So rather than deterring kids from being locked up again when they get locked up, it almost encourages it. And we're going to go into the reason why that happens. But here's some studies that's been done in some different states. In Texas, recent study found that youth and community-based treatment activities and surveillance programs had lower rearrest rates than those with similar criminal histories and demographic characteristics who were released from state facilities. So obviously in Texas, that if they have a special program where they're not locking the kids up, they have a better chance of cutting down the recidivism rate in that way, as opposed to kids being locked up. Cook County, Illinois, found that juveniles who experienced confinement were more likely to drop out of high school and be incarcerated as adults than youth offenders who were not incarcerated. So that was another study in Illinois showing that kids, again, that when they're locked up, they have a higher chance of becoming uh, becoming prisoners or getting locked up again as adults, rather than curbing their criminal activity. In Ohio, they have what's called a reclaim program, RECLAIM. It's a program is called Reason and Equitable Community and Local Alternative to Incarceration. And so in that program, they did in the states this initiative to service youth offenders in the community rather than placing them in institutions. The study of the program found that the recidivism rate for low and moderate risk juveniles in facilities was twice as high as those in the Reclaim program. So obviously that program is working for kids where they have kids in the community and they have a way of monitoring the kids and, watching the kids, as opposed to just taking them and locking them away. And so those kids, they're showing that the kids that's in these programs are doing a lot better as far as reoffending, as opposed to the kids that are not in the program. Even Florida has a study of low risk juvenile offenders. The Florida Department of Juvenile Justice, was known as DJJ, my ex-employer, reported that diversion programs demonstrated lower recidivism rates compared to those restricted options. So again, you have where they have a diversion program where the kids are not just being taken and locked in prison. They have other programs that's kind of working with the kids, and that's working a lot better as opposed to locking them up. Now, my theory of why kids that get locked up or criminals period is because when you go to these environments, you're surrounded by other criminals, you're surrounded by other offenders, and so you don't do anything else but learn how to become either a better criminal or to commit more crimes because they're influencing each other's. So with that being happening, with the way the mind works is that whoever you hang with or you become influenced by that individual. And so that's what's happening with these kids. They're being locked up with other kids that either committed the same crime or similar crimes. And these kids are just learning how to become better prisoners. So the studies have shown that the studies have shown what we already know, that locking kids up is not doing a damn thing for the kids unless you have a person like my friend Pedro Rodriguez. Even though I know it sounds like your local gardener or your mechanic, but he's not. Pedro has dedicated his life and has a mission to preach, teach, and inspire the kids that are incarcerated. He's in the detention center more than the police are. So make sure you stick around while we talk to Pedro and learn his techniques and what he's got going on in the detention centers. All right, welcome back to the MPACT podcast. It's your boy, Coach A. Again, I am with a close friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy right here is a good friend, like I mentioned. He's in detention centers more than the police are. He has a master's degree in counseling. He's working on his doctoral degree. He's a father, a husband of over 20 years. That's an inspiration in itself. The founder of Urban Youth Justice, which provide life coaching skills for youth, as well as biblical counseling, life skill training, employment assistance, and of course, mentoring. Please welcome my friend and his lovely wife, Pedro Rodriguez. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, Adrian? What's good? Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Good. If I could tell you how many times I practiced that intro. So you've been going into the when we met. What it was at Replay, right? Did we meet at Replay or?
Yeah. I think we did meet at Replay, or even before Replay. I think. Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Maybe we bumped into each other inside.
I think it was when I was volunteering with Youth for Christ.
Yeah. I remember. I think I remember we met in the detention center
through Miss Waiters. It was actually through Miss Barbara Waiters. Yes.
Exactly.
That's what it. Exactly. Yep.
So it's been a while, man. And so ever since then, we done worked on some projects together, and prison projects, and of course the detention as well. We're at a couple community events as well, man. So
yeah, that's right.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, we got the same heart. We got the same heart for the community. That mission to make to share the truth and make disciples, man.
Exactly.
Impact.
Make an impact.
Make an impact. And so is it Giddy?
Haiti.
Like
the country.
Really? So what's the G? What's the G for?
Well, it's a made-up name. Both my parents. My father's name Jorge, so it's the GE from Jorge. Yes. My mom's name Lydia, Lydia, so it's Haitia, but it's Haiti for short, and because people don't understand Haitia, so, yeah, or just G.
Yeah, so I was it's just G, even though it's not pronounced G. So I was worried about butchering it, but I didn't have a chance. I didn't.
Yeah,
No matter what,
yeah,
I was gonna mess it up.
it's a silent G. You know, it's no, you know, unless you're Spanish, you're not gonna know that. So there's
even Spanish people don't know that. So it's okay. I'm used to it.
It's butchered all the time.
So, Miss Haiti, you're working with the females?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In the past, it was a little challenging because of my job schedule, but now that I have it opened up a little. I'm not working on weekends, so I can commit a little harder to the facilities. And we have 2 female facilities that we do. We go in once a month for each, and then we just, love on them. I try to bring speakers, motivational speakers, also pretty much in the same style as what we do with the boys' facilities. And these are centers where the girls are long-term, which they spend, it's a program. So they're not there just overnight or are leaving consistently. So what we try to do is build relationships with them so that when they come on the outs, that we're still available to them to help them get plugged into the resources that we have with all these networks that we are connected with that are so resourceful.
Awesome. So are you guys having very many youth reach out to you after they get released from these places?
Yeah, it just blows my mind. You know, we try to limit giving our contact information to those who are about to be released. Because it's more realistic that those would reach out. And sometimes we don't hear from kids right away, but it could be a month later, and I'm getting text messages. And sometimes, quite honestly, I gotta say, hey, who are you again? Where did I meet you? I meet so many kids, but I'm always excited, and I know immediately that it's a youth. I'm just trying to figure out which youth it is, and then immediately once I know where they're at, I'm like, hey, let me see if I could get you plugged in with this person, and get you a mentor. Are you looking for work? Let's get you plugged into some community resources. That's the only way you're gonna stay out of trouble. You got to have somebody walking, journeying life with you and helping you grow spiritually. And I always tell them, what are you looking for in this relationship?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's the thing. The relationship makes the big difference. It changes everything. If there's someone that they can talk to, if there's someone that they know cares, that they can lean on when they're going through stuff, that makes a huge difference in the decisions that they're going to make tomorrow.
Absolutely.
So, of course, I know this, but we have viewers out there that don't know this. Are you guys doing this by yourselves?
Oh,
not anymore.
No. You already know. I mean, you were one of the first ones. But yeah, we started to pray and realize, man, this is bigger than what we thought it would be. It started at Manatee JDC and then Pinellas, and all of a sudden I came to find out about these residential programs. I'm like, man, I want to go there because those kids are there longer and I can do discipleship, and doors were opening. And I said, man, I can't do this by myself. And asked God for a team. And, we got more than what we asked for. And at first my focus was just males. And then, my heart one day got put into a position where I had to minister to girls at Clearwater. And after hearing one of these girls' stories, it just messed me up. And I was like, no, we really got to reach these girls. And so, I spoke to my wife, and then we had a couple of girls on the team already, and said, hey, you ladies got to start reaching out to some other residential programs. Come to find out, there's 2 of them right in Tampa. Hillsborough Girls Academy, Lake Girls Academy, and ran by TrueCore. And we, my wife has been going there, with the ladies now, and we've been established there for about 2 years, ever since we started, 2019, right before COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't just have a team of anybody. No. You got special. Your team is very talented. You want to tell us about that?
Oh yeah. Well, we got my heart has always, I've always been a hip hop head, growing up in the 90s, and I've always seen the power and influence of music. And so I see, how the music, also has a negative impact on these youth. I don't listen to that music, but I'm aware of what's going on, the content, and it's just a lot of junk. And so these kids, they embrace that. This is the songs that they're repeating in their heads, and we come in there with a different approach and introduce them, to Christian hip hop, Christian rappers, artists, ministers. Some of them don't like to be called rappers, so I say ministers of music. And they love to come in and share their testimonies of what God has done, and they do that in the form of music. And man, the way the kids draw in is just amazing. Like the kids tune into that. Afterwards, they're like, "Wow, I never heard this before." Where can I find your music? And so that's we've brought DJs in, like yourself and Pete. We have some who are really gifted in preaching and teaching, motivational speaking. And so everyone brings something to the table. We have some people on our team who never really been in a facility, and then we got others who were ex-gangbangers and served 7 or more years in prison. So we have a diversity of an age. We have some as young as in the 20s. Some of us are in our 40s. Hispanic, African American, Caucasian. That's what I love about my team. We bring all different flavors inside of these facilities.
So you mentioned that some of your your team members have had prison sentences in the past, and you had 6 or 7 years. So is there ever a challenge getting him into the facility, like through background checks, or what's that process like?
In the beginning, even with me, when I first moved to Florida, I hit a red flag, was up. Like, wait a minute, I don't know if I could get this job that I thought I wanted to work at, because I found out I needed to go through what's called an exemption process, and I needed to clear my name, even though it had been so long. It was already almost 20 years at that point. Now we're at 24 years that I have not been in trouble with the law. And I've been cleared by DJJ to work with youth and go into any facility I want, but still there's a background process, even that I have to go through sometimes. But a lot of my team have had to go through background checks. Sometimes they get a red flag and they have to clear something up. Other times, it's been a long time, and maybe it was a minor charge and they haven't red flagged, which is God's grace that they've been able to get in without no trouble. And some facilities have allowed us to come a few times and really didn't ask for any background checks. So that's been great too. It's not like we're ever with the kids alone anyway. There's always staff in the room. We don't touch the kids per se in any kind of way. We might just lay a hand on their shoulder when we're praying with them, but we don't. There really isn't any kind of concerns about any of the volunteers putting the kids at risk or anything like that.
So when I first went into the detention center, the girls' mod specifically, and I had to speak to these ladies, it was the saddest thing. I mean, I got choked up for a moment there. I had to catch myself and then begin to talk again. I was almost embarrassed because I was like, "Come on, man, you got to say something." I was all choked up, but it's just hard, when you look at ladies. It's just like, sometimes you look at guys and you're like, these are knuckleheads. You need to get it right. But then when you look at a lady and their responsibility here in the world, is like, this is like no place for any woman should be at all. So obviously you said when you moved here, so you came from Jersey City, right?
Yes, sir. Born and raised up to 38 years old. And then I moved out here, being here 7 years now in Florida, in Bradenton. It's become our home. We have no regrets. Love it here. I knew God brought us here for a reason. Shortly after arriving here, I had prison ministry heavy on my heart. Started knocking on doors, and honestly, I wasn't, getting connected or finding the right doors. And all of a sudden, those doors opened up, and I was able to volunteer with Prison Fellowship at the Soto Correctional. I've also gone to Lowe's Correctional with Greg, taking the city, which you were part of. Yeah. And then, also volunteering after that with Youth for Christ, Sozo Missions, and then I eventually launched our Urban Youth Justice in 2019. So yeah, just a lot of great work, a lot of experiences that shaped my passion for this. But I think what I would highlight is that, spending time with some adult lifers who were never coming home really, really, struck the heart for me. That made me realize, man, I want to reach the young kids before they get to this point, because once you're a lifer, that's it. It's in the physical sense, that you'll always be behind bars. Doesn't mean that spiritually you can't be free inside. Some people inside are more freer than the ones outside. Yeah. But that is just something that I say, man, and because I found out that Florida has a tendency, very known for sending young juveniles to adult prisons. There's even youthful offender prisons specifically for them from ages 18 to 24. And so, that was really what drove me to shift my heart towards saying, I want to reach the youth that are incarcerated.
And you also have a passion for justice, period. Like just like you mentioned, like kids being sentenced to adult prisons, or even, being sentenced over sentencing. I don't know what you would call it, just over sentencing, like giving life and stuff like that to teenagers and stuff like that. Tell me about that passion, because I remember you brought me to a meeting one time.
Yes. Yeah. So that's something that's it's not our primary focus really, but it is something that I have had conversations with. I've been invited to conferences and different things that focus on prison reform. I'm a part of a couple of groups on social media that really are working hard to changing the criminal justice system, which spills over onto the juvenile justice system. And obviously both systems are broken. Both systems need a lot of reform. You have from people getting, wrong sentences or falsely accused and, doing years in prison and they were innocent, to, people who don't get the right sentence and, do heavy crimes and come home, in just a couple of months or something, so there's a lot of that, but most importantly, a juvenile, for me, does not belong in an adult prison, because I'm aware of what goes on in these places and how they're treated. Even some of the juvenile facilities, that I've been to, are not properly ran. They're disorganized. They're not professional. Some of the staff there, may just be there for a paycheck and don't care about the changing the life of a kid. I think that, and I have a lot of respect for those who work in these facilities, because I started from the bottom, working in one of these facilities back in 2015. And my focus in working there wasn't because I was going to get paid a whole lot of money. It was because I knew I was going to have direct contact and opportunities to minister to these kids. And I surely did. And I was able to build relationships with those kids that were there. And most of them were there for up to 9 months. So I had a long time to get to know them and build relationships with them. Many of them confided in me and I was able to pray with them and, do a lot of things that I hope, in some way I made an impact when they went home, that they took what I said seriously and that it was something that shifted them in the right direction.
Yes, that's a good plug. Impact.
Amen. Yeah.
So take us through your whole program. You go into the detention center. Typically, how many do you take with you? What's the setup? What's the setup like? And are the youth typically inviting?
Yeah. Well, when we first started, like anybody, when I first started, I was just excited because I was like, wow, after so long, here's the team I need. Here's the doors open I've been wanting. So at times we were going into these facilities deep, 5, 6, 7 of us, we were just going in, sometimes setting up DJ equipment. And we were just like, hey, we're gonna get these kids a little hyped up, connect with them, share some things that would definitely pull on their heart. And then, the music would always get them. And then at the end, we'll close with, a powerful gospel message that would kind of get, check them and say, whoa, I need to get my life right with God, and then we'll pray with them, But of course, COVID hit. It put a little stall to us for 6 months. We had to go virtual, create some DVDs, that's a whole nother thing we had to do, which was a challenge. But it was limited. But I think we, in some ways, we were still able to make a little impact. Once we got past those 6 months, Florida, was one of the lighter states with the restrictions, and so allowed us to get back into the facilities. But we were limited in saying, the policy was like, hey, you can only bring 3 at a time, and you had to wear a mask and stuff. And so since then, I've trimmed it down to where we only go, 3, maybe 4. Some facilities are a little lenient on letting us bring a little more than 3. But I noticed, for time's sake, because a lot of these bigger facilities have 40, 50 kids in them, and we want to try to minister to all of them, but we only do a certain group at a time. So we try to break it down into hour segments. And so we go in for 60 minutes, we'll hit mod A. For the next 60 minutes, mod B. And, or they're named after animals or football teams or whatever. Every facility is different. And so, we'll spend 60 minutes, and, that in that 60 minutes, it'll start off with an introduction of who we are, why we're there, why they're important, why we took time out of our day to be there with them. That usually gets their attention. We ask them to just give us their undivided attention for the next 60 minutes. So we don't have any issues or side talking or any distractions. And usually we don't have any issues with that. At first, when they walk in, of course, they're looking at us like, who are these guys? What do they want? Whatever. But I notice what helps a lot is that we come in there, with urban gear, we come in there, with the music and all that. And that usually their walls come down, because it's like, okay, I can vibe with these guys, and so, we're not coming in there looking like their father or their grandfather, you know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? So when we walk in there, it's like, we're not intimidating. We're just coming in there like, hey, man, we want to just spend some time. We got something to share with y'all that we think is valuable. And usually they're respectful, and there's, we also bring snacks. So that gets them too, hey, you got always cookies and chips for us. All right, cool. So,
give me some treats.
And so we break it down between 4 or 5 of us. Everybody gets, 10 to 15 minutes. And in that time, you can share your testimony, share a Bible verse, a story you want to share with them, even if it's not pertaining to you. And then we'll in between have an artist come up and do a song or two. And we kind of keep it flowing. By the end, when we have about 10 minutes left to close, that's when, we at times have done a call of repentance, a call to make a commitment to Christ, or we'll just go around and pray over them, or some of them want private prayer, and we'll have a little time of counsel on the side, and we'll pray with them. So it all depends on how the Spirit moves and what it is that, that God does in that time. We don't try to do everything the same all the time. We switch things up. Sometimes the Spirit will interfere with our plans, and something else happens that we're like, wow, But we leave there amazed at how God, continues to work. We see how the kids respond. We see kids who come in there with hard facades, like, oh, I don't even want to be here. Yes. And then all of a sudden, the kid does that same kid will be the one holding tears, or the one that wants you to pray for him on the side, and he tells you, hey, man, I got a court case coming up, and I got some serious charges, man. Can you pray for me? I hope God could forgive me for this, and all kinds of things come up, man. It's just amazing that, we're given this opportunity. I think it's a privilege. It really is a privilege.
Yeah. And I was just going to ask you about that. If you have, any kids that come in there with the hard face, and then they end up changing. So is it the same for the women? How is it in the women?
I was just going to say, last time that we went in on the 18th, my God, it was tough. It was so tough. It was so bad. One of the girls, they bully each other in there, and they're in there, and this is live stuff. They were arguing right there. One of them said, you know what, get me out of here. I don't even want to be here. And she left. But at the end, she came back, and we got to speak with her, and we were like, this is not who you are. And sometimes, it's tough to be here, but, we're here to motivate you. So to break those walls down and go in there, it's a tough crowd, especially the females that we are serving right now. There's mental health issues too that you're dealing with, along the stuff that they're encountering. And I'm talking about trafficking, everything. Just you name
abuse,
it.
A lot of abuse.
Everything. No parents. Like it's devastating, So we're just like, hey guys, we're just here to love on you. we are not paid to do this. We genuinely love you and care, and we provide them with the resources, and we give them. Last time we spoke to them about their what was the image, their image,
identity.
Oh my God. Yeah, so that was deep too, because sometimes they find their identity in the media, because the media is exposing all these things that it's like, this is the way you're supposed to be, but you know what, your identity is in Christ, and he chose you. So you know what, you're only going to find yourself in him, because you're going to see yourself the way he sees you. But yeah, it's deep, it's hard, especially the girls too, that they're emotional. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But God always intervenes, and you're not always gonna have those good outcomes, like this last time. Thank God that nothing broke out, but sometimes we have to do 2 separate mods or groups, because the girls are not getting along, so they have to separate them. So we have to do a group of certain amount, because the other group can't come in, so it's a tough crowd.
Yeah, this is a ministry that, for anyone who's considering and joining, or who would like to, do something like this, or feels called to it, you got to have thick skin. You got to, you can't take it personal. I've had in the 2 years, well, I've been doing it longer, but for the 2 years that I've been doing it under Urban Youth Justice, I probably can count maybe two incidences that we had a kid
challenging.
Yeah, we had one kid being rude or something, and one specific kid I had to get a little tough with, because he was like really being rude and disrespectful, and was trying to intimidate me as if I was some guy on the streets and stuff. And I was like, man,
he called him out.
I said, yeah, I'm not that guy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that guy. You're not gonna intimidate me. I'm not afraid of anything you gotta say, bro. But anyway, long story short, with that kid, I saw him another time when I went back to this facility. And he was totally different, because he wasn't around the kids that he was around.
Yep.
And he pulled me to the side, and he would apologize, and he was like, hey man, I'm sorry about the way I acted that way. And then he was like, hey, you think you can help me, speak to my JPO and get me into the program that you work at? Like, he wanted to come to the program that I work at, And I was like, I don't know, because they send you wherever they want to send you, but I can always give a recommendation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wow. I remember one time I was with you, and and I typically, I don't have any issues with kids. Obviously, we have kids that's like you said, that's challenging, or they act a certain way. But this one particular time, you remember that little kid? I just could not break through for this kid for nothing. Everything that I was saying, everybody else was getting it, but to him, it was coming off disrespectful. And it's just like, I was like, I couldn't understand for the life of me, why this kid was taking it wrong, But and then of course the other kids, they just egging him on, because he getting upset. They not, normally you would think, yo man, he don't mean it like that. They would say that, but no, they want to see some drama too sometimes.
Of course, all for attention, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, we've got the protagonist, because they want to push that agenda forward. But yeah, a lot of times it's because these youth, they don't have father figures, they don't have positive men role models in their life. So now here's this stranger, yourself, you're there saying powerful words, but are challenging their thinking, because I know how you speak, you challenge people to think. And when you're challenging somebody that's never thought this way, and they realize, man, all these years I've been thinking, and I have thinking errors, I have flawed thinking. They're gonna object. They're gonna be like, oh, who are you to tell me? But if everybody in the room is getting it and you're not, then maybe you got to look at what's going on in your mind. You know what I'm saying? But that renewed that. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, but sometimes kids, it could have been they had a bad day.
Yeah.
They could, maybe they didn't get their phone call, or they had a bad phone call. Bad. So all these things happen, and they don't, we as adults, we know how to leave it there, and kids don't. They're not in control of their emotions. So they'll bring it with them. They act like they're supposed to. They act like they're supposed to. But you Pedro, lost your father at a young age.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we both did. That's how me and my wife kind of connected. Well, one of the things we had in common when we first met that gave us that mutual, I guess, to share that mutual pain together, and we became friends. But yeah, I lost my father at the age of 12. She lost her dad when she was 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you guys meet from that? Because I can't see how two people losing their parents, they're thinking about somebody else. Or
we met in the streets doing no better. we were just as bad as those that we go into to speak to.
Yeah, we
wait, you Miss Haiti?
Yeah.
Now I know Pedro.
I have a story.
Yeah, I know Pedro's story, but I want to hear yours. Pedro, I know yours. We'll say that, but I want to hear yours.
Just to let you know, I was in the detention center, so I can relate.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I was carrying my child, our child. So it's just, something that I can share with the girls and relate. Say, listen, I get it. I know what it's like to be in here, and I know what it's like, but you don't have to be confined to this, and God will release you if you allow him to, and he'll take you to different levels, but you have to allow him to, so it's just to share with them, like, I know what it's like. I know what it's like. I lived, my mom was a single mom, and my dad, she's still a single mom, still to this day. And I know what it's like to not have a father and look for love in all the wrong places, and to try to figure things out and think you have it all made in your head and go out there in the streets because, you're looking for that attention, that you didn't have as a father, and how the importance of a father figure is for, a child in their life, whether it's female or male, and to come to understanding that we do have a heavenly father who is the only one that can fill that place, so it wasn't until I understood that I was able to release and allow God to be healed from not having a father, because I had to forgive my dad for leaving me too, so it's a challenge, to get to a place where you get to release that and share it with others, because you don't know how to express your emotions when you're in a stage where you don't know anything about Christ or even anything about hope. So this is where we come in, like, look, we were there, we get it, we felt that pain too, and it doesn't go away, but God helps you through, and you have people that support you, and you can get to a better place. You will get there.
Yeah.
So what were you guys' ages, the youngest that when you got locked up, you got arrested?
Oof,
he started young.
Yeah. my first time shoplifting, getting my mother getting that phone call. I got caught in the mall shoplifting, doing something foolish. I was about 12 years old. It was like right after my father passed away. And I was actually my father was still alive. He passed away shortly after that, because I remember he ended up putting hands on me because of my behavior.
I was just thinking about that. Like, I hope he whooped your butt.
Yeah, he definitely did. And then the thing is that is to show you, even with a father, I was just doing stupid stuff because we weren't like, I wasn't financially in a bad place. Like my parents were actually okay. Compared to when I was just born, they were teenage parents. It was rougher, but by then they were a little more established. But then once he passed, I kind of just, took a spiral, my life spiraled, went from being a straight A student to, F's, getting expelled from school. My mother constantly getting phone calls to come pick me up, or me breaking curfew, coming home whenever I felt like it. I thought I was the man of the house now. And she was like, nah, I'm not having it. And she showed me who was boss when I would walk through the door. So yeah. But I was pretty young, and she actually my mother at one time turned me into the police department and dropped me off because she said, I can't take you no more, and I'm not having this. You need to turn yourself in, and I was like, what? But I spent several weekends in the juvenile detention center until I accumulated so many charges that they wanted to give me 2 years in a program, and instead I copped out to Job Corps, which some people are familiar with that program, which allows a kid to get a GED and a trade. So I went and took some carpentry and tried to get my GED, but I ended up going AWOL and jumping the gate and leaving that program before I completed and went right back to the streets. By that time, I was about to be 18. You know, me and her met when I was just turning 18 and stuff. So, yeah, then, you know, my daughter was born when I was turning 19. And so, yeah, it's, you know, it's been a rough road, you know, raising children, not having a father to model.
Raising children.
Yeah, we were children raising children. And neither of us had a father that showed us, you know, how to really be, you know, a good father. You know, we didn't have nobody showing us how to be a good parent. I mean, you know, my mom was addicted to substances at the time too. You know, my wife's mother, you know, worked hard and had to raise 3 kids alone. She did the best she could. Yeah. You know, so it wasn't easy.
Not my best friend. We're not talking about my best friend, right?
Your mother.
Don't talk about my best friend.
Yeah. She's a trip, man. But as you know her now, she's a totally different woman. Clean. She's been a manager for a company for a long time. She's a good woman. Independent, owns her own property. She does well.
Talk every time I see her. We talk for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, she's got jokes.
Yeah, she's a handful. She's a handful.
She's a handful and then some. We love her.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So, man, I had to say that, but I forgot what I was about to ask you. You know, talking about, you know, growing up and going through that back and forth. So, you were actually introduced. You was asked to go to church, right? Oh, first of all, this is what I was going to say. I did the math. If you was having your child at 19, so that means you had to be like around 17 or 18, right? Was Miss Haiti 17 or 18? Yeah, younger or older?
She's older than me.
Oh, she's older than you. Okay.
Yeah. She doesn't look older than me, though, right?
No, she don't.
Yeah, she's beautiful and young.
Yeah. As long as I don't look older, that's good.
Yeah. But 20 plus years, how many years is it? What anniversary?
Together since 1994, so 27 years. Yeah. That's and 22 married. In a couple of weeks, we'll be celebrating. We'll be going to Puerto Rico to celebrate
July 10th.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. But yeah, 22 years.
Y'all gonna do some zip lining?
Yeah,
we got some works up in there.
Yeah, we got some nice excursions booked. But our youngest boy is 20 years old. My oldest daughter is 26. I have a 9-month-old granddaughter. Yeah, we don't look like grandparents, right?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
And he was a father to my son, my oldest, who's 30.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was 3 years old when I met her.
And he calls him dad, you know. But,
I raised him.
So
awesome. Yeah. So 20 plus years. Now when I was going through getting some of the pictures, that I noticed that there's a ton of pictures of you guys together, and I think it's just awesome. That's probably that's a big key in you know, long lasting relationships. It's just doing a lot of stuff together and capturing those moments. So I think that even like now you guys are together. You know, and I think that's awesome. But I just noticed that I was like, man, I gotta do better. I gotta get up on my game. Like, you know, I got about 5-10 pictures. You know, obviously I don't. You know, I'm working on 7 years, but you know, I'm like, man,
it's always
every other picture they together, smiling and doing this, and I'm like, man.
You know, the thing is that we didn't start taking those pictures together till much later when technology really took a hit. I mean, you know, launched. Think about in the beginning when we were together, there was no pictures really of us unless somebody had a camera because cell phones just started coming out in the mid 90s when we met.
Albums is what
but it didn't really cell phones didn't have cameras till much later.
Right.
or quality cameras anyway, so yeah, there's years that aren't even documented, if you know what I mean.
That's okay though.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just making me look even worse. So I I'm gonna have to do like 3 or 4 pictures a day just to catch up.
Yeah, you gotta
my wife.
capture those moments, man. It's always beautiful to look back and see what God has done, where you've come from and where you're headed.
We quite often visit that topic because it's just all God.
Yeah,
it really is. It really was.
You guys are doing an amazing job. So tell me about this right here.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. Is a award, startup award. I'm not sure, what it is. You're going to tell us about it, but it's well deserved. It's very well deserved.
Yeah. So 2 years ago or so, when we first felt we were being called to start Urban Youth Justice, a few different things happened. I got connected with a lady by the name of Amy Williams in Chicago. She had a juvenile justice cohort, which is right behind me. That's what that is. That's actually a cutoff of a t-shirt.
Yeah.
but yeah, I went to a leadership cohort, and from there I met a man called Dr. Scott Larson, who then became a mentor. He's been doing juvenile justice ministry for like 30 years. As a matter of fact, I just spent this past weekend in New Mexico with him doing a Ready for Life event at a facility, which was amazing. But from our relationship, I've met other people and had other opportunities to speak at juvenile justice conferences.
Right.
And that's just opened doors. That's actually where I met Longboy and a few other people who have been a part of the team. And so one of my other mentors on the education side, Joel Van Dyke, who's also an author and a missionary to Guatemala, told me, "Hey, have you heard of Tampa Underground before?" And I was like, "No, I have not." And so as soon as I looked them up online, I saw the documentary, I saw what they were about, and I immediately was intrigued at how they have developed this concept of micro churches and the ecclesial minimum, which is community, mission, and worship. And so we ended up contacting them. Went on a tour of their facility, got to know them. They said what we wanted to do qualified as becoming a micro church under their umbrella, and so we've been with them. They support us financially, but they also provide us with training resources. They're just amazing. And so because of COVID going on, they didn't give an award that year, but this year they wanted to award several, like about 5 micro churches, right? Got awarded something special, and we were the startup of the year, which is just the startup nonprofit or the startup micro church. We launched, and we're already on our second year, phase 2, as I call it. First year we just planted seeds, built relationships with directors and facilities, and now this phase 2 is developing. We're going a little deeper, and we're also establishing discipleship groups at several facilities where I now have team members who live in those cities: Orlando, Ocala, Daytona, different areas, St. Pete, Brooksville. The women's, my wife, they do discipleship there. They've been doing that for a while now.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Daytona. You're doing a lot of traveling around Florida.
Yes.
But you're also going outside of Florida too. I believe I saw that you're doing outside of Florida. How did that come about?
Yeah, well, that came along. Well, I've over our time of growing and becoming an established nonprofit, 501c3, we've met some people who've been doing this, and I'm the type that I'm teachable. I like to learn. I like to say, hey, what can I learn from this person? And so I've met some great leaders who are doing great work. Mama Rita has also been someone who I've connected with, and she was able to help me open doors and teach me a couple of things. And so our first time leaving the state was with her in Tennessee, and then Texas we've done also with her. And then now, because of the relationships I've built, and also that I work for a facility, and the company that I work for has acknowledged what I'm doing as well. They support me. I now have Alabama on the table, which is going to be in September, and Nashville, Tennessee at the end of July, with the same lady that we met in Tennessee, who happens to be a woman of God. She was running this female facility, has now gone on to be the facility administrator at Standing Tall in Music City, as an all-male facility. And she, throughout COVID, kept saying, "Hey, I want you guys to come, but I can't give you the green light yet."
Right.
And just a few, like a month ago, she said, "Hey, green light, I can get you guys in now." And I said, "Whoa, let's do it." And so we booked flights, and we're ready to go at the end of July to Nashville. And so yeah, we're opening too. Alabama, yeah. We got we got we're open to bringing the gospel, wherever the Lord sends us, But Florida is our home state right now, and is where we want to really get deep rooted into the discipleship. Our next phase and what we're trying to do now is building infrastructure, establishing ourselves more, doing a lot of fundraising. We're still a new nonprofit, but I think in our years of existence, we've accomplished way more than I imagined. And so the next phase is to develop a community center for youth, like a youth development, youth leadership center that could offer programming, classes, all kinds of stuff, a place for mentorship, a safe place for them to just hang out and maybe have some recreation. I mean, we want to be able to offer a lot of things.
Safe haven for the youth and the community.
Purchase a van that we can actually pick kids up if we have to, where there's no excuse,
skills,
and just feed them, help them get basic needs, like we really want to see that come to pass. And so we're just praying and doing what we have to do on our part, as far as our homework and connecting.
Little steps, baby steps.
Yeah, we're getting coaching and all
God
that from
God is directing
people.
us and bringing the right people. I mean, there are so many people that are even reaching out that we have no clue, but because these pictures and these videos are getting out, they're seeing what's going on, and people are donating, and that's just a blessing. I mean, God's provisions are just faithful always, because this is how we're able to continue to, get to these places and provide these kids with resources that, they may never have encountered or had, or, even get these, the teams to the facilities. You know what I mean? It's just, it's a blessing. It really is, without having to figure out how we're going to do it is the question,
So how can people donate?
Well, we have our website. That's where we would, most likely want people to visit the best place to visit the website, uyjinc.org. That's Urban Youth Justice Incorporated, uyjinc.org. You click, you go to the website, there is a donate link, and it'll send you right to Giving Fuel, which is a legit site we've been partnered with for a while. And then there's also crowd fundraising always going on Facebook and Instagram. We post there regularly for support and stuff. And so that's pretty much what we're doing. We want to create other fundraising outside of that. I'm still working, with a team of people to try to establish other ways to raise funds and gain, gain visits, to the site, and get donors who are really willing to invest in what we're doing, who really believe in the mission.
Because these kids, like, for example, the girls, which we're getting ready to put out a post, because what we do is we do care packages for these kids when they're on the outs coming out. Some of them don't have clothes, some of them we have these gift cards that are food, food gift cards. So if they ever need, something to eat, they can at least not have to think about it, so we would like, to have those things where we don't have to think about them and just have them prepared, versus like, oh, we need to get it, or, so those are things that we,
sometimes just basic hygiene products,
or even them when they have babies, also,
some of them are parents.
Just
that website, say that website again.
uyjinc.org.
Okay.
Just recently I saw youth at a facility who I knew from the outside. I used to be his mentor from at another program, and he now has a son, and he told me if I could bless his son with a package. And
we put it on Facebook, and people donated, and
we were able to bless that baby with some good deals, like, so these are kids that are in need. Pampers, wipes, all that. We dropped off 2 big bags to the moms, and she was able to she had a big smile, and she was really grateful.
We were able to provide that baby with the basic needs, and and they were blessed.
And you guys, you familiar with Hunger's Inn, right? With Miss Vicky and them at Hunger's Inn, because there's a lot of resources out there that you guys could go through regularly. I'm not talking like once or twice a month. They are just as passionate as you guys are about going into the detention centers and reaching the youth. They are just as passionate about feeding and providing resources to organizations like you, not just people, because they understand that you guys are doing the same thing. You're just a link. So
that's great to know. I know Hunger's End did donate some stuff to us. One Christmas we packed some bags for the kids with socks and deodorant and all that. Yeah, I remember that. So I'm grateful. We also have some churches that support us. We got Grace Life.
Sometimes they cook
in Sarasota. We got Harbor Community Church. We got members from there who bake for the kids and who have donated in different ways. So we're really grateful for those community churches as well that help out in any way. CDP up in Tampa, the Resurrection Church in Tampa Heights. We
have many sisters and brothers.
Have you ever reached out to Crossover Church in Tampa?
Well, I have a partnership there with Frank Jones, who runs the crew.
Awesome.
They do juvenile justice ministry at Hillsborough. I've gone there several times with them for special events. But we have not partnered with them as far as like sponsorship, or because they have their own thing. But we are like family.
Connected,
we are like family. Frank Jones, Long Boy, several people there at that church. They know my heart, I know theirs, and we do the same kind of work. As a matter of fact, I was away last weekend, and Frank Jones stepped in for me at Brooksville and did the life skills class for me. So that's the kind of partnership we have, where I can trust and leave him a facility and he's going to handle it the right way, so I appreciate that.
So it sounds like when you were telling me you went to Tennessee and you're getting ready to go to Alabama and all that, it sounds like a tour. Are you taking artists with you?
well,
I just give you an idea.
That's what hey, put that on the bucket list.
You talking about you want to get a van so you can get some youth. You probably need to get a huge van, not just for the youth, but get an RV for all you guys, and you can go on tour.
I know.
We do.
We've mentioned that, like, joking around, like, hey, man, we need a big vehicle so we can just drive, But some of the guys on my team are not as passionate about long road trips as I am, but we several of them are willing to travel, and as you already said it, I consider that a tour, and it's not like a music tour that eventually ends. This is going to be something we're going to do ongoing until God says
ongoing.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, but I definitely, when I travel, I definitely want to bring at least one other person. I don't like to always be the only one talking. We are creating some video content, so when certain people can't come with me, I can still show it via laptop connected to a TV that they may have, or sometimes I travel with my own monitor. But my wife also, can come with me to some trips, because like in Alabama, they want us to minister to guys and girls.
Yeah, and girls.
So if you're asking us to minister to girls, I have to have at least one woman present, So my wife will be the first one to come, and if any other woman wants to come, it's fine too, So it's open, we can't cover everyone's costs, but right. we try to use our donations wisely to cover costs for ministry and stuff.
Yeah.
And so
that's coming. You're gonna be able to cover your costs for everybody. Are the artists able to perform at these other facilities?
Yes, we make that clear. We kind of when we talk to the directors via email, we always handle it professionally. We kind of do a proposal and say, hey, look, this is what we do. We make sure we ask them a bunch of questions. They ask us questions. they basically ask us, hey, what do you need from us? And I just say, hey, look, I don't need a table and some water. I'll bring the rest.
Yeah.
We have a partnership, as a matter of fact, with Prison Book Project.
Yes.
Who, for example, if I'm traveling to Tennessee or to Alabama and I can't bring a bunch of Bibles on an airplane with me, they will mail a box to whatever facility I tell them to mail a box to.
Wow.
And they're more than happy, and they got a factory loaded of good resources, not like cheap stuff.
Awesome.
From Bible comics to Bibles to everything. Devotionals, Christian literature, all that stuff. And so yeah, they
boys and girls.
Yeah. So all she does is say, give me the address. How many boys and girls do you have? What kind of material do you want? And that's it. And she'll send it out.
Yep.
And she's they've been good.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, matter of fact, I met them at the same conference when I met when I went to do I shared in Orlando my testimony, and it was like right after that we launched Urban Youth Justice, because that was June or July, and then in August or September we began to come up with the name and the logo, and we filed for a 501c3 through Tampa Underground. And somewhere in the middle of COVID, like April or something like that, April or May, we got the letter saying that we were now official. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you guys, thank you so much. First of all, for your work that you're doing in the community. It's because we know that these kids often get forgotten about because they're not out of sight, out of mind. That's just how we are. But you guys have them in your mind every single week, and you're constantly, ministering and talking to them, bringing them, hope. And we really appreciate that, because they're all of our kids. I might not necessarily have biological kids in there, but if there's kids in there, they are our kids as a country, as a state, as a community. They're our kids.
It takes a village, right?
It takes a village, yep.
It takes a village. And so you taking the village to the kids.
That's right.
And we bring the church to the kids too.
Bring the church to the kids.
Most of them won't step foot in a church, or have, and they've been had a negative experience of some sort. So they're like, oh, I don't know if I'm accepted, or if they're gonna make me feel unwelcomed. So I'm like, well, hey, here's church for you right here, right now. So
we bring in church and an experience they've never had before, because to them, church is like, wah, 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 wah.
Exactly.
We don't do that. We come with, like, yo, what's that, It's a whole, so, and they understand that this is the form of church. Like, oh, we're going to do church today. Yep.
Exactly.
So church,
Yeah, and they look forward to it, which I'm surprised. I'm like, wow.
To it, yeah.
So yeah.
So I know you guys is making a lot of connections just from the consistency alone, and just, constant. That's important. So again, we appreciate everything you guys is doing. Second, thank you for coming on the podcast and just telling the story and letting us know what you do. I continue to support you guys and send support your way any way I can. I love the touring. It's going to be bigger. It's continuing to grow. You already know that. You already at a place where you didn't even imagine. So are, and so it's just going to continue to grow, man. So again, love you guys. I appreciate it. I'm always here for you, and looking forward to working with you guys again. All right.
Always. Yes.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Bye. God bless. All right. So that was my brother Pedro and Haiti. They work with Urban Youth Justice. I put their information up there. If you want to be able to donate to them, you should donate to them. They do a lot of work in the community. As you've heard and as you've seen, I've worked with them side by side. Such a blessing. A lot of these kids are forgotten about, but they haven't forgotten about them. And they continue to work with the kids, to direct them, to inspire them to do better. And so we really appreciate that. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. Coming on the show, we got my brother, Mr. Aaron Cooper. He just opened up a youth training facility for basketball. So we're going to hear from him and see what he's doing in our community. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Until the next time we get together, you know what I'm saying? Peace out. It's your boy, Coach A.